Imagine you are standing on a long wooden plank supported at both ends. As your friend walks toward the middle, you notice the plank begins to bend slightly. But here is the question: where is the plank most distressed? Is it in danger of snapping? And how would an engineer know? The answer lies in understanding two powerful concepts: shear force and bending moment, the invisible internal forces that decide whether your beam stays solid or fails. But before we explore those forces, we need to know what type of beams exist and how they are supported in real life. So, let's begin at the foundation. In engineering, a beam is a structural element designed to carry loads applied perpendicular to its length. It's used to span spaces and transfer loads to supports. Think of the steel girder in a bridge, a wooden floor joist, and a ceiling rod holding a hanging light. Beams take those vertical loads and safely deliver them to the ends where supports hold them up. But not all beams are supported the same way, and support type drastically changes how forces act inside the beam. Let's go over them. There are three common types of supports used in beam systems. Pinned support can rotate freely but cannot move horizontally or vertically. Offer two reactions, vertical and horizontal, common in trusses and bridge ends. Roller support allows horizontal movement but prevents vertical movement, offers one vertical reaction only, used where thermal expansion or shifting is expected. Fixed support prevents all movement and rotation, offers three reactions: vertical, horizontal, and movement, found in cantilever beams and embedded columns. Now that we know supports, let's look at beam types based on how they are supported. Simply supported beam. Supported at both ends, one pinned, one roller. Most common type. Used in bridges, floors, and simple frames. Cantilever beam. Fixed at one end, free at the other, like a driving board or balcony. Carries load with a large bending moment at the fixed end. Overhanging beam extends beyond one or both supports, a mix of cantilever and simply supported behavior, used when load needs to extend past base supports. Fixed beam, both ends are fixed, resists rotation at both ends, used for rigidity in structural frames. Continuous beam, supported on more than two supports, load is shared more efficiently, common in long bridges or slab structures. Real world examples: a balcony, cantilever beam, a ceiling beam resting on two walls, simply supported, a beam is sticking past a wall edge, overhanging beam, long highway bridge with multiple piers, continuous beam. Engineers choose the beam type based on load type, span length, structural layout, deflection limits, and safety margins. Quiz time: a beam is fixed on one end. Correct answer is C, cantilever, because it's supported rigidly at one end and free at the other. Now that we know the different types of beams and how they are supported, let's move one step deeper into the structure. What happens inside the beam when it carries a load? Let's explore shear force, the internal slicing action that every beam silently resists. Let's take a closer look at what happens inside a beam when it carries a load. Most beginners only think about what happens on the outside, the load on top, the supports at the ends. But real engineering happens inside the structure, where materials silently resist failure. One of the first internal forces that appears is shear force, and it plays a much bigger role than you might think. Shear force is the internal force that acts along the cross section of a beam, trying to slide one layer of the beam past another. Imagine placing your hand flat on top of a stack of books and pushing sideways. You will see the top book shift forward while the bottom books resist. That resistance between layers, That's exactly what shear force looks like inside a beam. Now, where does it come from? Let's say a beam is carrying a downward load in the middle. To stay in equilibrium, the supports push upward. But inside the beam, the material must resist the tendency of one section to slide past the other. The result is shear force acting internally. Shear force can act in two directions. Positive shear force, left side of the cut section, force acts upward. Right side, force acts downward. Negative shear force, left side downward, right side upward. Sign convention is important because it helps us draw shear force diagrams correctly and identify where maximum stress occurs. Shear force isn't always the same along the length of a beam. It depends on type of load, support conditions, and position along the beam. Examples: under a point load, shear force jumps suddenly at the point of the load. Under a uniform load, shear force changes gradually, forming a linear graph. Knowing this helps engineers determine where shear reinforcement is needed and avoid sudden material failures. In real life, shear failures can be catastrophic, especially in concrete structures. Shear force causes diagonal cracking, often without much warning. That's why engineers design with extra safety in regions with high shear. In basic statics, you can calculate shear force at any point by V is equals to Ra minus sigma F applied up to that section, where V is shear force at a section, Ra is reaction at support A, F is applied load between A and the section. We will use this when we draw shear force diagrams in the next chapters. Quiz time: a simply supported beam has a point load in the center. Where is the shear force highest? Correct answer is B, at the supports. Shear force is highest near the supports and drops sharply at the point load. Now that we understand shear, let's move on to its partner in internal resistance, the force that causes rotation, bending, and deformation. We have already learned about shear force, the internal sliding action inside a beam. But there is another internal force that's even more critical when designing structures. It's the one that causes bending, rotation, and curvature in beams. It's called the bending moment. And it's the force that tries to rotate a beam's cross section about a point. Imagine holding a wooden ruler flat, resting it between two stacks of books. Now gently press down in the middle. The ruler bends downward, right? That bending isn't just the result of force, it's the result of a movement or torque. A bending moment is created whenever a force tries to rotate part of the beam around a point or axis. A bending moment is the product of a force and the perpendicular distance from the point of interest. M is equals to Fd, where M is the bending moment, F is the applied force, and D is the distance from the force to the point. It means when a beam bends, the top fibers of the beam compress, the bottom fibers stretch, and somewhere in the middle is the neutral axis, which doesn't change length. This deformation causes internal stresses, which are resisted by the beam's material and geometry. Engineers use a consistent sign convention. Positive movement causes sagging, negative movement causes hogging. Keeping signs consistent helps us draw accurate bending moment diagrams, which we will do shortly. Just like shear force, the bending moment varies depending on the type of load, the support conditions, and the position along the beam. Example: for a point load at center of a simply supported beam, moment is maximum at the center and zero at supports. For a uniformly distributed load, moment forms a parabolic curve, smooth and rounded, still maximum at mid-span and zero at ends. Bending moments tell us where the maximum stress occurs, where a beam is most likely to fail, how much the beam will deflect or bend. Engineers use this info to size the cross section, choose material, place reinforcement, avoid cracks, fatigue, and collapse. A diving board is a classic cantilever beam, fixed at one end. When a person stands on the edge, shear force is highest near the fixed support. Bending moment builds up towards the fixed end, where the board tries to rotate, but is held back by the mount. That bending moment causes the board to bend down, storing energy, then snapping back when the person jumps. Quiz time. A simply supported beam has a single point load at its center. Where will the bending moment be maximum? Correct answer is C, at the center, because the farther a force is from support, the greater the moment arm and the higher the bending moment. So now we have explored the two invisible forces inside every loaded beam: shear which slices and moment which bends. But how do we actually calculate them? How do we draw the shear force and bending moment diagrams that every engineer uses? Now that we understand what shear force and bending moment are, it's time to bring them to life visually. Engineers often use two powerful tools to analyze internal forces in beams: shear force diagram and bending moment diagram. These diagrams help us quickly see where the beam experiences maximum internal stress, where it's most likely to bend, fail, or crack, and how loads affect the beam along its entire length. So, how do we draw them? Let's break it down step by step. Step 1: Understand the beam and load. Start by identifying beam type, support reactions, type, and location of load. Step 2: Calculate reactions using static equilibrium. Use basic statics. Sigma Fy is equals to 0 and sigma m is equals to 0. For a simply supported beam with symmetrical loading, each support shares half the load. Example: if total load is equals to 1000 newtons, then at each support, load is equals to 500 newtons. Step 3: Divide the beam into sections. We analyze the beam between key points: start to load, load to end, any changes in loading or support. In each section, we calculate shear force and bending moment. Step 4: Calculate and plot shear force values. Let's say at the left support, reaction is equals to 500 newtons. Just before center point loads, shear force is equals to 500 newtons. Just after point load of 1000 newtons, shear force is equals to negative 500 newtons. At right support, shear returns to 0. Shear force diagram shows sudden jumps at point loads, linear changes under UDLs, slopes only if load varies continuously. Step 5: Calculate and plot bending moment values. Use M is equals to RAX. For a point load at the center, at supports, moment is equals to 0. At center, M is equals to RA multiplied by L by 2, which is equals to 500 L by 2. Key rules: moment is 0 at free ends of simply supported beams. Moment is maximum under point loads or mid-span of UDL. Diagrams must be continuous unless a moment is directly applied. Diagram interpretation summary. These diagrams help engineers locate maximum bending stress, determine where to reinforce, and ensure the structure stays within safe limits. They are used every day in structural engineering, mechanical systems, aerospace, and construction. Quiz time. A simply supported beam carries a UDL across its entire span. What will the shear force diagram look like? Correct answer is C, diagonal line, because a UDL creates a linear change in shear force, not a sudden jump. You now have the tools to read a beam like an engineer. You can calculate shear, draw movement curves, and know where stresses hides. But how does all of this apply in real structures? So far, we have been working with diagrams and equations, but engineering isn't just about math on paper. It's about using these principles to design real structures that hold up the world around us. Let's look at how shear force and bending moment play a role in everyday engineering applications and why understanding them is critical to avoiding failure. Number 1. Bridges. Every time a heavy truck drives across a bridge, the deck experiences vertical shear forces at the supports and a bending moment in the center of the span. Engineers use BMDs to identify where bending is highest and where shear is highest. Based on that, reinforcement is added where needed, materials with high tensile and compressive strength are chosen, safety margins are designed using the maximum moment values. Without shear and moment analysis, bridges would crack, sag, or collapse prematurely. Second, cantilever elements, balconies, and crane arms. Cantilevers experience the most dangerous combination of internal forces: high bending moment at the fixed end, high shear near the wall connection, and no support at the free end. That's why engineers use strong steel or reinforced concrete, moment, and shear diagrams to design the anchoring system, load restrictions to prevent overloading and rotation. Even small miscalculations in movement can cause cantilevers to fail suddenly. Third, floor beams and buildings. When you stand inside a room, the floor beneath you is acting as a simply supported beam, supported by columns or walls. Loads like furniture, people, partitions create a combination of distributed and point loads. Engineers use shear and bending diagrams to ensure beams are strong enough, prevent floor sagging over time, place rebar correctly to resist tension zones. This is why you never see beams with uniform thickness. They are often deeper near supports or heavily reinforced where movements are greatest. Fourth, aircraft wings and fuselage. Aircraft wings behave like cantilever beams, fixed at the fuselage and free at the tip. They carry the weight of the wing, fuel stored inside, lift force from air pressure, and dynamic loads during turbulence. All of this creates shear force along the wing's length and bending moment that peaks near the fuselage. Engineers calculate the moment and shear precisely to avoid wing failure, optimize material usage, and reduce unnecessary weight. This is why airplane wings flex but never break under normal conditions. Fifth, mechanical components. Even small components like bolted joints, machine frames, robot arms are all affected by internal shear and movement. If engineers don't account for shear failures in bolts or high moments in robotic arms, machines can break under normal operation. That's why even the smallest designs use these concepts during analysis. Engineering insight. No matter what you are designing, if it carries a load, spans a distance, or bends in any way, you must calculate where shear is highest, where moment is maximum, and how the structure reacts to those forces over time. Because every failure you prevent starts with a well drawn diagram and a smart design. You have now gone from definitions and theory to diagrams to real world application. Let's wrap this topic with a full recap and 10 practice questions to test everything you have learned. You have just completed one of the most important topics in engineering mechanics: beams, supports, shear forces, and bending moments form the foundation of structural, mechanical, and civil engineering design. Let's quickly review what you have learned and then test your understanding with 10 questions. Beams, structural elements that carry loads perpendicular to their length, come in types like simply supported, cantilever, fixed, overhanging, and continuous. Supports, pinned support, roller support, and fixed support. Shear force, internal force that tries to slide one section of a beam past another. Highest near supports, sudden jumps occur under point loads, linear changes under distributed loads. Bending moment, internal movement that tries to rotate sections of the beam. Highest where the beam bends the most. Maximum under center loads or UDL mid-span. Zero at free or simple supports. Diagrams, shear force diagrams and bending moment diagrams. These diagrams help engineers find failure points, design reinforcement, optimize material use for strength and safety. Let's now test your understanding with 10 questions. You have now learned how to read forces inside a beam, something that's invisible but critical. These skills will serve you in structural engineering, mechanical design, aerospace systems, construction, robotics, automotive, everywhere. So keep practicing and keep asking what's happening inside this structure. If this video helped you, hit like, subscribe to Basecamp Engineering, and let me know your answers in the comments below. New videos drop every Friday. Next up, trusses, frames, and structural analysis basics. Until then, keep building from the ground up.